In September, glam rockers aren't happy with challenging gender norms. YouTube cracks down on punching, and my very first advice an imprisoned patron asked for. Support the habit at patreon.com/dosabuckley. This is Musical Autopsy. Doc Buckley's back in the Musical Morgue for another song slicing, and today on the table it's a song that lets me say I told you so when I told you why country is going viral lately. It's Oliver Anthony's apparently controversial Rich Men North of Richmond.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away.
Wait, this is the big ol' right-wing anthem the internet went nuts over? Ha, fuck, this is Libby as hell! If some girl with pink hair and face piercings said these exact same words to a trap beat, oh, I'm sick of having to work all day, every day for basically nothing. It's such a waste of my life. I'm just gonna go home and drink. You would be like, more typical Gen Z bitching from these babies that don't know that hard work is the key to success. Rise and grind! Rise and grind! But you set that to some twangy-ass guitar and sing it with a southern accent? Finally the working man speaking the truth. Boss gets $1 and I get a dime. Bunch of bullshit, am I right or am I right?
'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men know the rich men.
So, I think some of the early confusion came from the title, the hook, the Rich Men North of Richmond part. In the age of reading a headline and forming an opinion, people just heard the North part, especially in a country song, and thought, yeah, this is about them northern liberals, fuck them. Oliver Anthony is from Farmville, Virginia. This guy gets more generic by the minute, but anyway, people thought this was some sort of red state anthem. So much so that Fox News played it during the Republican debate, and Oliver Anthony said this.
It's aggravating seeing people on conservative news try to identify with me like I'm one of them. You know, like, it was funny seeing my song in the presidential debate. Because it's like, I wrote that song about those people, you know?
More on all this in a second. But no, he's from Virginia, and of course he's referencing the capital of his state, Richmond. And guess what's directly north of that? Might be a little embarrassing if the Canadian knows and you don't, but I'll just tell you anyway. Washington, D.C. is roughly 2 hours up the road. All politicians are the rich men north of Richmond. Not just the ones you don't like, all of them. You're being taxed to no end to pay for the people in the Republican-led House, the Democrat-led Senate. And then, instead of actually helping anyone, doing their job, they turn around and point fingers at the other side. Oh, it's their fault you're broke and everything's so expensive. Well, they all get rich. He posted that he doesn't support either side. But in the next verse, we do get a bit of an idea as to where he seems to be getting his news.
Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds.
So this is the line that triggered them snowflake liberals, which is really kind of telling on themselves, isn't it? As a big fat lib who uses their welfare to buy fudge rounds, I'm offended. But the truth of the matter is, at least according to Pew Research, Democrats are more likely to have received poverty or unemployment assistance. And 74% of Democrats believe it's the government's responsibility to care for the needy, to help those who can't help themselves, while only 38% of Republicans feel that way. But getting upset at all these very full straw men, these hypothetical obese welfare recipients, this is like the politics of a teenager whose Fox News loving dad goes on rants at the dinner table, and then Junior just regurgitates it to anyone who will listen. Fat welfare recipients aren't the reason no one's helping the homeless. First off, they get the same amount of money as skinny welfare recipients. No one goes, well, you're twice the size of that guy, so you get 2 checks. And second, Ollie, you're falling into the trap that I think you're trying to warn people about. There are 535 of these rich men north of Richmond. all making, at minimum, $174,000 a year. The Speaker and the majority and minority leaders make more, as does the Vice President. And then there's the President, who makes $400,000 a year. So, close to $94 million a year, minimum, goes to pay for these useless mouth breathers to sit around and tweet all day. And you're worried that some fucking poor person getting a paltry $180 in food stamps might eat a fucking cookie and enjoy one measly fucking second of their soul-crushing existence? That's a talking point they made up to get you to turn your anger away from them, to divide regular people who are just trying to get by. People who believe, same as you do in your own words, you weren't born to just pay bills and die. And you're falling for it.
I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere.
And then there was this line, which, again, even though it says politicians, the right-wingers went, well, he means leftists, of course. Boys on both sides rode the Lolita Express. But I also can't help but wonder if this is meant to have a different, maybe in some ways worse, meaning. Like, he doesn't give a shit about child trafficking and wants politicians who spend their time yelling about who's harboring the bigger pedos to just shut up and help coal miners instead. Who cares about looking out for children on an island somewhere? Piss on them. Well, not in an R. Kelly way. I mean, we got working men here that need us to look out for them. Or, like a coal mine, am I trying to dig too deep and having this whole thing collapse on me?
'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men,
Obviously, there's no way to talk about this song without discussing the politics. It's a political song. It had to be to get to the top of the charts, to get people to talk about it. Because if this were a song about anything else, it'd be as boring as watching Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell go through photo albums. Although, at least you get the occasional laugh as they come across old pictures of themselves and ask, who's that? Like, come on. We don't have to pretend this guy's raspy screaming and mediocre guitar playing is actually good, do we? Like, honestly, aside from the fact that he's a little misguided, that he doesn't realize that he's been tricked by the very thing he's trying to warn people about, lyrically, it's fine. Rework verse 2 to talk about how they got us fighting over how poor people spend their money while they take ours, how both sides distract us by getting us to play soldier in a culture war, dying on hills of non-issues like plastic straws and rich pedo islands and alcohol guidelines and gas stoves, so they don't have to deal with the real issues? Yeah, now you got a fucking song. He'd still be not a very good singer, and I'd be bored to tears by how slow it is, but at least he wouldn't be showing how even his ginger ass is getting played. Ultimately, though, I think the whole thing is a good cautionary tale about not judging a book by its cover. You might think it's something you won't enjoy, but then you actually sit down and read it and find out it actually sucks for completely different reasons. Boy, wouldn't your face be as red as Oliver Anthony's balls if you never knew the right reasons to dislike this song, huh? This is Musical Autopsy. Bag it and tag it.